Um, Something about me, if you do not know me personally, my name is Lara Briozzo. I work as a therapist, coach, meditation teacher, and I was born and raised in Italy, and since about 20 years I live in the Netherlands. And I'm an expat, that's how we call ourselves, coming from another countries here in Europe. And for this reason I work really often with expats, with the problems that are connected to living in another country and having a lot of new adventure, but also a lot of challenges. How this webinar was born, I wrote an article a few weeks ago about approaching problems from a different perspective, focusing more on desire. And I noticed that there was a lot of response to that article, that it resonated with a lot of people. And because I think it's a really important point, it's a really important thing to look at problems differently. I mean, we all struggle with problems, we all look non-stop for new ways to solve problems, to do that better and faster. And I noticed that using desire, using the pleasure that we can get out of desire, is an under-evaluated resource in this process of solving problems. So now it's, according to my computer, is 1 minute past 11. So I'm gonna go a bit, I'm just gonna start with the program I had in mind. So this is a workshop/webinar with the title Focus on Desire as a Way to Solve Problems. The idea is that every problem that we experience, little or big, hides a desire. We have the problem because we cannot achieve that desire, that goal, that objective that we have, and therefore we have a problem. So it's the inability of realizing a desire that becomes a problem. And for this reason it's extremely relevant to look at problems and desire in the same context. There are some quotes around, there's some people that have started to see this. For instance, when you read, there is a really nice quote, every problem is an opportunity in disguise. That's a bit of the sense. If you look at the problem in a certain way, you can come to the other side of it, to the desire. And the first activity that I want to suggest is exactly to discover the difference in taste, in texture, in feeling, between the approach that is more problem-oriented and an approach that is more desire-oriented. And the activity is really simple. We are going to free associate. So we are using these two polarities, problems and desire. And we are going to focus first on the problem, and we are going to free associate. That means that, and if you have pen and paper, you can do that writing down. You can also do it brainstorming just in your head. You're going to free associate everything that for you it's to be seen, associated, reminds you of problems. Other words, situation, maybe people, name of people. Just take a moment to free associate about problems. I have done it yesterday, and in a little while I will help you with the things I found. Yes. Just take a few moments and free associate with problems. What comes to mind when you think about problems? What came up to me was complication, dilemma, issues, challenges, obstacles, troubles, disagreements, difficult reality, arguments, controversy, contention, protest, threat, test, and block. the reason to do this association is to now feel in which state of mind and in which feeling state are you when you focus on this, when you hear or read such a list. There is a contraction, there is a sense of having to work hard, and also a sense of tiredness, a sense of not having much control, not having the possibility to run smoothly in this in the process of solving the problem. This sense of hard work, of heaviness. Now, after having brainstormed with the polarity problem, the invitation is to brainstorm with the polarity desire. So free associate with desire, what comes to mind. What are the other words that you see linked really easily to desire? Can be something more personal, can be something more general, can be again something related to your life, some of your desire. Just take a little bit, something little of a minute, to brainstorm and to enter in that energy and see what happens. We are free associating about desire. And I'm going to give you, just as well as I did it for the problem, I'm going to give you the list that I came up with, free associating with desire. Dreams, aspiration, wishes, childlike, innocent, trusting, magic, appetite, fascination, love, inclination, lust, attraction, passion, will, need that activates. Now, use your own list and the effect that this list that I made and that I read up as to you, and notice the difference, the state of mind you are in now, the way you feel, and how different this is. Focusing on desire, opening up, becoming joyful and enthusiastic about something that you desire, that you aspire to, and how this feels so completely different from when you focus on the problem, when you have this pressure on you on working hard to solve the problem. At the same time, as we said at the beginning, behind every problem there is a desire. A problem is just something, the acknowledgement that we cannot go directly to our desire. So we have a problem because we want something different from what we have now. We want something, we have a desire, the wish, and because we cannot access that, we have a problem. At the same time, we can choose to focus on the problem side of it or on the desire side of it. And this exercise helped you see what's the difference and why I encourage you to focus on the desire. Now, what I want to share now, it's a little trivia, if you want, but I found out that the etymology of the word problem, it's actually different from what we may think. Problem comes from the Latin, the Greek pro, that means forward, and the Latin from comes from balein, it's for launch. So basically the etymology of the word problem is launching, forward. You could say that it's a synonym of project. And if you look at problem as project, there is a completely different perspective on the problem. It's an opportunity, it's a journey, it's something you start and that you develop and that you have control over. So it's not just it's like the word problem has taken a meaning that it's not the real meaning in the course of time. And with this exercise, with this webinar, we are trying to get the original meaning back. Now, where stands your problem? What do you know about your problem? and in the specific, what are your the things you really strongly believe. I'm using now a statistic, if you want. Majority of the problem we have encountered are either on the work related, on the work plane, or are have to do with love. So when I work through this webinar, I'm going to use these two examples. And the next exercise, the next activity has to do with becoming aware of the things we are absolutely convinced about with regards to the problems. We will eventually challenge these really gently. But the first step is to find out what are the things we think we know for sure. If you imagine a work situation, something you have, let's say you would like to have a better working situation, and you are completely convinced that, for instance, you don't have the skills that you need to do what you actually want to do, and you are completely sure about that. Or you could be completely sure that there is, in that company, in that situation, that there is absolutely nothing you can do to grow. Or you can be absolutely convinced that there is someone with a really strong opinion about you that has an enormous influence on you. If it's about love, you could be really convinced that there is something wrong with you, and for this reason you are not attracting a partner. Or if you are in a relationship, you may be convinced that the other person in the relationship has something that caused the problem in the relationship. It's something that you can also not control. Just take your problem, the problem you would like to work on this format, in this workshop, and try to feel what are the things you are really sure about. And write them down. We are going to challenge. If you have more than one, choose the one statement that matters the most, the one that limits you the most at the moment, and that you feel if you can challenge that, you can have the biggest gain, the most important change, the most relevant change. So make this choice for yourself and write it down. Now I'm borrowing the work of Byron Katie for this next step. Part of it, I'm going to use 4 questions. These 4 questions that you can ask to yourself can help you change completely the perspective on these things you are convinced about. So you have this statement you are really sure about, and this statement that represents the biggest obstacle you have in your current problem. Something you believe it's true, and something you believe it's the number one reason you are in this problem, and the number one reason you cannot get out of it. And the first question to ask to yourself is this statement true? It's a simple question, and it may be that the first reaction is yes, it's true. Then I have a second question for you. Can you absolutely know it's true? Now, this is a question that inevitably brings up some movement, because there's really few things on this world that we can absolutely know they are true. And the reason why we ask this question, the reason why we challenge this belief, is to move energy, to feel better, because we know somewhere, somehow, that if we have something we are so convinced about, and something that we feel it's the essence of our problem, we also know that we are responsible for believing that. So take this challenging of your belief as a really loving activity, a really form of self-care, self-care is actually quite accurate. The third question is, how do you react What happens though when you believe that thought? So this thing you really strongly believe about the situation is a thought at the end. And the question is, how do you react? What happens with you when you believe that thought? What do you notice in your current situation because you are believing this thought? And be really gentle with yourself when you answer to this question. It's not easy, it's not, it can be confronting. But again, this is meant as a really loving activity. This is embracing your belief as it was. You can imagine this belief you have, this belief you are challenging. You can imagine it as a child you are taking on your lap, and you are embracing and reassuring that everything is gonna be okay because you are taking charge of the situation. You are taking the job that this child is doing for you. You are taking it over. You are understanding that this belief is misplaced, is not useful anymore, and you're doing something about it. The fourth and last question is, who would you be without that thought? And that is that adult that can take this belief as a child on their lap and reassure it, take care of it, and at the same time disempowering it. Somehow you have been functioning under the lead of this belief until now. And now you're finding out that when you are in that belief, when you identify with that part of you, you are someone that reacts in a way you don't like, that gets results you don't like. And you're starting to see that you can be someone else. You can access other aspects of your personality when you can let go of that without that thought. And here we come to the next phase, more desire-oriented. And here I would like to invite you to do a little visualization. You are now in this place where you realize that you want to be that someone without that thought, that you want to discover who you can become when you are not anymore believing that thought, when you are free, and when you believe that you can choose a different thought. You can choose how to approach your problem. This truth you have been believing was a self-made truth. So I invite you to sit in a comfortable position. It would be really nice if you could have your feet with their sole touching the ground completely. And if you need something underneath, I hope you have it near you. But sit comfortably with your back straightened up, your chin a bit towards your chest. And start bringing your attention to your breathing. And by doing that, your attention goes all inside. And you start to notice physical sensation. You start to notice emotions, feelings, and you are more and more aware of your body, all the parts of your body. When your attention is so focused inside, you are really aware of all the parts of your body. You feel the sensation in your head. You feel the sensation. You can go with your attention down to your neck and feel how the sensation in your neck, and then going on both shoulders, down your arms, and then in your torso. You do a kind of a checking in yourself and see how you feel. And then down in your hips, feel how you can relax on the chair that is supporting you. You can relax with your back against the chair. And go down to your legs. As you are still breathing, of course, and the more you breathe, the more you relax. The more you relax, the more the breathing becomes deeper and slower. And you reach this really comfortable place in yourself. And as you reach this place, in contact with your body, relaxed, aligned, you can imagine above your head a shower. And from this shower there is this dense water, colored of a green turquoise, that is showering you, your energy inside and out your body. And as this dense form, this dense liquid form run through your body and along your body, it takes away waste. It's like this shower is cleaning you up, is cleansing you up of all sorts of waste. Thought you don't need anymore, emotion and feelings you do not need anymore. And also invisible things, energy, all sorts of things that have accumulated on you, like a thin layer of dust. And this dense green turquoise water has the power of cleansing all this. And it goes down your body all the way until your legs, and via your legs to your feet. On the palm of your feet there is a round flap that opens up every time a charge of waste reaches the feet, and releases this waste to the ground, to Mother Earth, that knows how to recycle it. And while this happens, there is another round of this water running through you and cleansing you of another layer of this thin dust. And make sure that this really pleasurable, dense liquid covers all of your body, the right side and the left side, the front and the back. And use your intention and your imagination to give a bit of a direction to make sure that all of your body is cleansed this way. And enjoy the pleasurable feeling of experiencing this cleansing, this massage. There is some sort of healing and of massage that it's really possible to feel when you relax in this feeling of this shower. And the more charges of waste reaches the feet and leave the feet via this flap, the more you notice that there is space. This cleaning action leaves space. And in this space, there is now the possibility, it becomes much easier to feel the desire that lives behind the problem you are thinking about, you are working at. And you enjoy this space, you relax in this space, and you allow more and more this desire to become visible. You may get sensation, images. Allow everything. Allow this desire to blossom as a flower in this space created by this cleansing. Take some time to explore all these, to feel the sensation, see the images in your mind, and develop creative thoughts and exciting plans. And when you feel that you have your desire clear, you can start to come back, open your eyes, come back in contact with me, because we have a next step to take. But before we do that, take a moment to come out of this visualization, maybe move a bit your body, make sure that you are back alert and awake out this really light trance that I induced. Now imagine that you are already in a near future when you did all that was necessary and you got it. You transform the situation, you feel differently. And you reach this desire, realize this wish fulfilled that you experience in the visualization. And you can ask this question to yourself. I will ask a few questions and leave a little bit of time for you to write down or to think about your answer. The first question is, what do you notice is changed in your behavior? Now that you are in this new place, this new state, this new scenario. The second question is, how do you feel inside? If you really connect with your body, how do you feel in this new scenario? How good do you feel in this new scenario? The third question is, how does the inner dialogue with yourself sounds like? How do you look at things? We all have thoughts going on in our head, kind of an inner dialogue with ourselves, where we talk. We talk about what we see, what we experience. Sometimes we say these things out loud, but there's also a lot going on. All our thoughts. And if you look from this place where you are now, this new state you are imagining now, how does this inner dialogue change? What are the things you believe now? What are the thoughts now? By now, I mean, if you project yourself in this near future where your wish is fulfilled, your desire is realized, where you are in that place that you desire to achieve, when the problem is solved. The next question is, what do you notice changes in the relationship with other people? How do others react differently to you, and how do you behave differently, look differently at your social network? And you can think of friendship, but you can also feel of the relationship with your significant other, with your children, with your family. How does that change? Because you know that when you change, you project something different, you emanate something different, and you get different response. So maybe you can imagine with this new you, feeling different, believing different thing, how people would react differently to you. The next question is about which physical sensation, this combination of thoughts, feelings connected with this desire that you imagine realized, how do you see that resonating in your body? Which part of your body can you feel with a kind of resonance with all that you are imagining and creating? Where in your body can you feel that feeling that you are experiencing in this situation? it's a really important thing. You may even feel that there is a new posture for you in this place. Maybe you feel more empowered, and there's all sorts of posture that you may feel more comfortable in, and where you may feel you step into this new energy that you are creating by focusing on the desire, by elaborating on how it's gonna feel and how it's gonna change things. So assuming this posture, feeling which posture feels right for you in this specific desire, and assuming it from time to time when you feel the need. It's recharging. It's almost like putting yourself in the charger and charge your batteries. The last question is, how does this inner state, this new inner state, that is the realization of your desire, relate to your higher purpose? This is a spiritual question, of course, and the importance of this is that when we pursue a desire, a dream, because it brings us towards our higher purpose, the motivation is incredibly big. And we know we have to do that. That is not just a desire. We know that when we can see how that desire link into our bigger picture, higher purpose, life purpose, we are extremely motivated. And asking yourself this question helps you to tap into that source of motivation. Now, what I would like to suggest now, I'm going to give you some time to finish reflecting on this last question. I don't want to rush this. The next that I want to suggest is to use the wheel of life to ground this desire. This will be the first of 6 techniques that I'm gonna teach for you to ground this desire. And the first technique is using the wheel of life. The wheel of life is really simple, a circle divided in 8 portions. Each portion we will assign an area of your life. And then what you will do is that you will reflect on how this desire, the realization of this desire, link to that area of your life. There's a lot of ways to use the wheel of life. You may know it and have been using it in a different way. This is just one way, but it's a powerful way, because then you ground your desire in all your life. You see how that impacts, is relevant, it's for different areas. You may also find out in which area you have resources you can use and in which areas you need help to work on your desire. So we're gonna do it live. Just take a piece of paper. If you wanna use color and get creative, I approve. Just draw a circle. And then you divide it first in half, and then in 4, and then each of the 4 divided in 2, and you get a wheel of life. And now I'm going to tell you which are the areas and which are the options, because few areas can be split even more. It's quite random the way I start. The first one I suggest is your career. And you can write career next to it. The next one can be, I'm mixing them up a bit on purpose now. It can be friends and family. And you can choose to have one section. You can choose to use the whole section for both, or you can choose to divide that section. So this was a section. I divided it in half, because you may say, well, it's really different. The family is as an area of my life, and friends as an area of my life. I see them really differently, so I prefer to split them up. This is applicable to few of these areas, but don't worry. The next one we are going to look also, you can split it, is health. When you think of health, you could say, I see a big difference in my in the health of my body and my psychic health. So you can split it in body and mind. I think everything is reversed, that you cannot. But this is health, and it's split it in body and mind. The next portion is money. If you can think of a way that money can be split in your life, split it, also in three. The idea is that you use this tool to reflect on how your desire is working out in your life. The next one is personal development. I personally can see how many people would split personal development in two sections, one more spiritual and the other one more professional development, for instance. And then we are going to romantic relationship, love. And then we have environment. You can think of your house, the town where you live. Is it safe? Is it nice? Is what you want? You can also think of your office or workspace. Is it... That's what you think of when it comes to environment. And the last, but not least, is entertainment. And let me break a lance for this. It's really important to entertain yourself, to do pleasurable things. They can be little things, but it's important that you take care of yourself. And self-care goes also through doing pleasurable things. It's not per se going to a discotheque, but it could be going to a movie or watching a movie at home these days. Going to a sauna, having a date night with your partner, and going for a massage, or reading a book, buying a book you've been wanting for a long time. It's self-care, it's entertainment, and it's important that it's taken into account. Well, first of all, we are focusing on desire, so it belongs a bit to the theme. We cannot work on desire and say, oh, no, entertainment. Entertainment is maybe not even the right word. Maybe it would be better to call it self-care. But that's it. So, we can do it together. We can start back from career and look at this desire that you have. How does this relate to your career? Maybe it's a desire that relates 100% to your career. But the invitation is to write down really concise in the section itself of somewhere here. This is where you map down how your desire meet your life. So write down your reflection on how your desire play a role or not, finds resources or not in your career. And the same when you think about friends and family. What are the resources there? Or maybe your dream is to do something that you know will meet mixed feelings amongst your friends and family. So you can experience that as a stress factor. Write that down, because when you write it down, you know you have it and you can do something about it. If you do not reflect on it, if it does not become aware, if you do not become aware of that, it stays something playing a role without you being aware and therefore being able to do something about it. But you could also realize that there is something in your friends' network that actually has expertise in the area where you want to realize your desire. So maybe it's worth calling and asking for help. Then health. you could look at this like, am I psychically strong enough to pursue this? Do I need some mindset coaching? Or you could look like, am I fit? Let's say your dream is to run a marathon. You may have to look really seriously at your physical health and making a plan in steps to reach the fitness you need to run that marathon. It can also be that it's really irrelevant, that your health is good enough and that you don't really need an improvement. Some of the area may be slightly less relevant to the realization of your dreams, of your desire. Money. Do you need money? Do you have enough money? Or has your desire something to do with money, with gaining more money, for instance? Personal development is, you can also ask the question, how does it link? Is it anything to do at all with personal development? Or do I need to learn something to be able to realize this desire? Romantic relationship, is this impacting my relationship or a possible future relationship? Or it has absolutely nothing to do with your romantic relationship, because maybe it's just a dream that is work related, so happens at work, impact work, and as just something to tell at home when you go home. And your environment, are you in the right environment to realize your dream? Or is there some adjustment required? Entertainment, self-care. Is self-care part of your desire? Or better said, if you think of your desire as a project you are undertaking, can you give a place to self-love, to self-care? So, this activity, it's likely to have given you already quite some insight, and this is the first of 6 that I'm gonna suggest. This took a bit long. The other one should be a bit quick to explain. The second one is the collage. Someone call it dream board. I call it collage of desire. It entails taking a piece of paper, minimum A5, bigger is possible. I normally go much bigger. And with your desire or desires in mind, you go looking for magazine you can cut, and you collect and put together and glue to this paper a composition of images, maybe even words. You can add your own drawings if you like, if you feel if you don't find the images that you want, and you create an image of your desire. This image will be much richer than the desire you have right now, and you may notice that the images will trigger you that don't seem apparently to have to do with the desire you have in mind, but they excite you. You really want that image in your collage. Go have it. You may find out desire while going through the magazine and seeing places you may want to visit, images that links you with a sensation you want to experience. There is a dimension of magic in doing a collage, where more than you think you desire comes to the surface. Allow yourself, indulge yourself. It's also a way of taking care of yourself. So let yourself be surprised by what comes up in your collage. Sometimes you find also keywords of sentences on magazine that are just the perfect words for you in that moment. So use those too. Make sure that your desire is in there, that you are building up on your desire, not forgetting it. And that's the second activity you can do to ground your desire, to stay in touch. Once you have your collage you can do also with your loved ones, with your children. It's really fun to do also with a group of people, with family, friends. You put it somewhere where you can see it as every day, as often as possible. And get excited every time about your desire and about how fun it's going to be to get there. And at the same time, you let go of the work to get there. Third, tips to ground your desire. This is inspired by a work from an Italian philosopher, Igor Sibaldi. And this is the technique of, it calls the 100 desires. The task is to write down 100 desires. He suggests to write first 150 and then select 100. I honestly started about 8 months ago. I am at 84. It's not easy. I don't spend all days on that, but it's an exciting endeavor. I don't suggest you write 100. I suggest you use these rules, these 10 rules he gives to make the desire, to define and express the desire, to make as many desire as you want around this one bigger concept. For instance, you may want a new work, a new job, a new function, and you may create this desire for the kind of colleagues you want, the kind of environment, the kind of project, the kind of desk, or the kind of office you want. Go crazy. If you want to do the 100, do the 100, but just the technique. What happens when you use this technique and you read them every day, it's special. And I've tried it. It's not just, I didn't just read it on a book. The way you write down your desire, according to this, method. First of all, you start the desire with I want. All the desire that you write down, you start with I want, and then you go on. It is forbidden to use negation, to use something like I want to avoid danger, I want to avoid a sickness, or I want to stay away from that. You always, in the wording, you always stay positive. You always talk about what you want, not what you do not want. Number 3, you don't ask for money. What you do is you ask for what you are going to do with the money. So you don't ask money, you ask for that you want to do a certain trip, that you want to do a certain course, that you understand? 4th, the desire needs to be really concrete, verifiable. You need to be able to know exactly when you achieved it. If you say, I want to be happier, it's really difficult to measure that. So it's a bit materialistic if you want, but it's powerful, and you can go really far also on a spiritual level using this rule. Because the more you work through your desire, the more your desire become ambitious, the more you realize how much you can achieve, what you are capable of. Because even just expanding on the ability to desire is expanding your power. But do the list and then we'll talk about it, because I didn't completely believe this myself when I first heard. They also have to be specific, so measurable but also specific. If they are too vague, they won't realize. The fifth rule is avoid a comparison. So don't ask for a house just as nice as the one of your neighbor. Go for what you really want. Take inspiration from others, but be really unique in your desire. Number 6, you cannot desire for someone else. The way you can try to impact positively someone else with your desire is by saying, I want to do everything in my power to help someone else with this and with that. That's how you can word it eventually. Don't use desire to do serial desiring. So don't ask for, in one desire, I want a house in Barcelona, I want a house in Berlin, I want or with cars or with books. Don't be serial. Don't find a way to package it in one desire, in one desire. Don't use words as if you want a house on the beach. Don't ask for a little house on the beach. You may end up with a doll house, and it's not what you want. You may want a cottage instead of a villa, but be really specific and don't. Because when you use this word as a little, for instance, you are making yourself little. You may for instance, you may want a new car, but not a really big one. Just be specific the kind of car you would like, but you don't need to say a little car. It's a bit diminishing of the importance of your dream. And that was number 7. Number 8, no, that was number 8. Number 9, oh, this is important, a bit difficult. Every desire needs to have 14 words. So you are gonna describe it in 14 words, including I want. And that's a bit challenging, but it helps enormously to break it down to the essence and to make you really conscious about what to live in and what to give up. You can start just writing it out as you experience it, and then count the words and see how to tweak it in a way that it becomes 14 words. 14 words is what you normally can say in one breath, is a sentence that you can say in one breath. The 10th rule is, if for instance, if you are in love with someone, that you cannot ask in your desire for that specific person. You can have the same for a job situation, a working situation, that you want per se to work for that specific company, for that specific manager. The reason why you can better not do this is because, well, there are some theory that it impacts also the free will of other people. I'm not sure that's the case, but anyway, there may be something so much better for you around the corner than the one person you want to put in your desire. And I say it for personal experience. I made the mistake, and then I realized suddenly, before it went wrong, that I was limiting myself, that I was making a little a little boundary around a situation that could be much bigger, and that's what happened at the end. You may have noticed as I was going through these rules that I'm talking about, like when you write down this desire, then they just writing them down and reading them every day, or as much as possible, as often as possible. Maybe every day doesn't, it's not possible, it's not realistic for everybody, but these desires have a way to realize themselves on its own. It's like by working them out in this careful way, applying this rule, there is so much energy put into making a really clear order to the universe. And you know, there are some things that work like magic in the world. And either you believe it or not, and you can try it only with few, because things realize, in my list, few things realized already, even if I haven't come to the 100 yet, let alone the 150. So my invitation is to try, apply the rules, and trust that applying these rules bring energy in movement. If you don't believe this part, you see it as a bit too much of a magic thinking, you can also realize how much thinking, how much narrowing down, how much getting specific about what you want this process requires. So if you prefer to park the magic part, do that by all means, and just focus on how focusing these 10 steps are. So quickly, you start with I want, you avoid negation, you don't ask for money, they have to be specific, verifiable. Avoid comparison. You cannot ask for other people. Not serial desire. Be courageous and ask for what you want. Don't use little. Use maximum of 14 words and don't ask for specific people. Now, that was the third of the tips to ground your desire. The next one is inspired from the work of a company in America called One Taste. This company does a completely different work from what we are doing now. They are teaching a form of meditation that is called orgasmic meditation, but they work a lot with desire. And what they found out is that every desire is blocked by fear. The reason why there is something between us and our desire is that there is fear. And they developed this technique to free up this fear in a way that we can access more easily desire. It works like that. You take 10 minutes, you use a clock, your telephone, and in these 10 minutes you allow yourself to write down all the fears you have with regards to a specific situation. And you write them without censor. You write it all out, also the things that seem silly. The little fear of rejection, the fear of inadequacy, and as long as you keep writing, 10 minutes, it's long enough to get you in a really deep place where fears you were not aware of will come up, and you will read them on your paper. And it can be touching, it can be... well, I think I've never experienced it as scaring, but it can be a bit emotional to find out that there are such fears in you. And the way you can work this out, if you have someone you really trust, you can read this fear out loud to this person when you are done with the 10 minutes. You can even call a friend. Actually, where I learned this technique, there is a international WhatsApp group where people can ask, is there someone available to listen to my list? And so we used to call each other and read list, also with people you don't know. If you are available, you say, I'm here, you get called and you read it up to someone you know that does the same work and that is to be trusted. Alternative is reading out loud for yourself, so that reading it out loud, it comes even more to awareness. It sinks in. Afterwards, you shred this paper, you burn it if you have the possibility, and you let it go completely. Before doing that, what I've learned is asking God, the universe, whatever higher power you believe in, you ask them to heal, to help you with letting go of this fear. You basically give the fear to this higher power to be helped, to let them go. After 10 minutes where you inventorize your fear, you go and inventorize your desire. You will notice after this inventory of fear that there is more space, that you are relieved. And then you can focus on the desire and take again 10 minutes and write down the desire and the little details of the desire, and also that allow the little things and the desire you haven't become aware of yet to bubble up and to come to awareness, and write them down. These also, at the end, what you can do is to read them again, and also to say, and I deserve these, and I deserve all these. If you have someone you can read this to, you can have this someone telling you, it's really powerful, and you deserve all this. And you can have all this. It's even more powerful. And you can have all this. Can you imagine taking 10 minutes to pour all your desire, or all your deepest desire on paper, reading it out loud, and someone you trust telling you, and you can have all that. It's beautiful. And to be honest, this is also what happens to me. I use this in situations where I was really stuck, like waiting for messages, getting frustrated. I did this, so I took it home. I was not expecting any more from the external world. I did this, and energy unblocked, messages came, answer came, things started to unfold the way I needed them, I wanted them. So again, it is psychically really effective to cleanse. The magic part you can park, and then you'll see. The next tip, it's a bit more business. It's used a lot in business. It's a bit more cognitive, but it's a really nice way to work. And that's formulating your desire as a SMART goal. That means to make it specific. And specific, I mean, you don't say, I want to go on holiday in Germany. It's not specific enough. The travel agent doesn't know where to book you. It means I want to go to Berlin, I want to see this, I want to see that, I want to do that. Be specific. The more specific you are, the more you're actually already planning it, you're already doing it. The M stands for measurable, and that's something we've already seen. If you want to lose weight, for instance, you want to know how many kilos in how many weeks you want to lose. Otherwise, it becomes tricky to be able to know when you can celebrate. And then there is the A of achievable. And that's also an important one, because if you decide to lose 10 kilos in 4 weeks, could be a stretch, not just for your body, could be not achievable, but also not healthy. So make it achievable and sustainable and good for you. Also because when any kind of project, if you give yourself not enough time, or if you aim for something that is at this moment out of your reach, you're going to set yourself for failure, and we don't want that. Then the R stands for result-oriented. So why are you doing what you are doing? What is your purpose with this? What is the result, the desired result? Getting clear on that, reflecting on that, it's important, it's motivating, and it helps you also to connect with that spiritual dimension of what's the purpose, why is that relevant. The T is for time-bounded. I touched quickly when I was talking about achievable. You want to know when it has to be done. I made the mistake myself recently of having this enormous plan. I say, I'm so motivated, I'm working at this every day, but I didn't set deadlines for the steps I wanted to take. And I found myself a few months further down the line, and I'm not where I wanted to be because I didn't put down where I wanted to be and when. So that was a pity. Lesson learned. At the end of, normally in business, you use the SMART goal setting. When I trained in psychotherapy, they taught me to add an E at the end for ecologic. And the way you use this extra point in the description of the goal is by asking yourself, is this goal worth my time, worth my energy? So you check if it is actually relevant to your bigger purpose, to your higher purpose, to your bigger picture of your life, and if it is worth pursuing. Sometimes we get caught in things that are expected of us in relationship, in work, in all sorts of things. And this is a moment to look at yourself and see if for you personally, if this is worth it. And this is a moment where you may go back and tweak a little bit the desire, what you actually want. Last, now what I just want to say one more thing about the SMART goal is that it's a bit more business. If you are more business oriented, more logical, more rational, this can be your where you feel more at ease. And then the invitation is to do the things where you feel less at ease, to expand your ability to realize your desire. And the other way around, it's also true. If you are more on the law of attraction, on the magical, on the collage making, use these to ground yourself also on the other side that is less developed in you. Because when we find the balance between the opposite, we are much more powerful. The last tip I want to give, it's also quite practical. It's about listing your resources. And there are two sorts of resources. There are the resources you already have and the resources you need to acquire. The resources that you already have are of two sorts. Are inner resources, that is your personality, your talents, your skills, everything that you have inside. And the external resources are your situation, could be money, could be time, could be people you know, could be things you have and that can be used. Inventarize what you need and what do you already have amongst what you need. And the second part is what you need that you still do not have. Look at what is priority and how you could get those things that you need and you do not have. So that was the sixth and last tips on how to realize, to work on your desire and to bring the focus from the problem to the desire. I would love to read how you experience this, because this is a first possibly of more of this webinar workshop. So I would love to have some feedback from you, and I sincerely hope you you got something good out of this. I did it with a lot of love and I really enjoyed it. So take care and stay in touch in this group. I will do them again in this group in the future.